Have you ever been aware that you were dreaming while the dream was still ongoing? Maybe you tried to wake up or even change some events in your dream. Or maybe it simply felt like watching a movie. This dream would have been vivid and you might even still remember it to this day. That is a lucid dream, a phenomenon measured in the study by Gott et al. From 2020, Sleep Fragmentation and Lucid Dreaming, with the paper suggesting a relationship between the two events. Sleep fragmentation or interruption is characterized by repetitive, alternating sequences of sleep and wake periods. You notice here that the wake periods are shown as spikes, and the second individual has a lot more instances of nocturnal awakenings. Sleep apnea causes you to stop breathing when you sleep, so it's common to experience fragmented sleep. Now, some background is that lucid dreaming most commonly occurs during rapid eye movement or REM sleep. But interestingly, there are differences between normal REM sleep and lucid dreaming during REM. REM sleep is the last of 4 stages of sleep that your brain goes through in one sleep cycle, and it's associated with decreased activity of the prefrontal cortex. However, lucid dreaming has been observed to have functional and structural differences in the same area. So, why does that happen? One 2009 study by Voss et al. Proposed a hybrid state between wakefulness and REM sleep. So, that means that during a brief period of wakefulness at night, the wake-associated activation of your prefrontal cortex persists even after you return to sleep. And this results in a waking level of activity despite being asleep. Beyond this study, however, it's noted that there are no other studies specifically investigating the relationship between lucid dreaming and sleep fragmentation, hence why this paper aims to fill that gap. Their hypothesis is investigated across 4 sub-studies, although I'll only be touching on 3 of those, and they involve the measurement of sleep fragmentation, nocturnal awakenings, sleep quality, and polyphasic sleep schedules. So in the first study, they recruited participants from online forums related to lucid dreaming and conducted an online survey where participants were required to assess the frequency of their lucid dreams and awakenings at night. Then they had to rate how fragmented they felt that their sleep was. And with a final sample of 198, a significant association was found between lucid dreaming frequency and a number of awakenings reported. However, this was not the case for lucid dreaming and sleep fragmentation. However, there are 2 limitations to the study. And firstly, surveys are a subjective measure of sleep. And additionally, nocturnal arousals from REM are more easily recalled the following morning, as opposed to arousals from non-REM. So it's very likely that some of these participants simply forgot that they woke up and therefore could not report it. Now, in the second study, interviews were conducted with 22 volunteers, where 10 participated in a separate study on the effects of polyphasic sleep. Now, most of us only sleep once a day throughout the night, and this is called monophasic sleep. But polyphasic is sleeping multiple times within 24 hours. And for this study, the participants were required to take 6 naps per day, each for 20 minutes instead of sleeping at night. And this meant sleeping a total of 2 hours a day for up to 3 months. In changing this sleep rhythm, they attempted to mimic the interruptions caused by sleep fragmentation, and the results are evident in this graph. There's a much higher frequency of lucid dreams per day for the polyphasic rhythm in dark orange. It's important to note, however, that this is not identical to sleep fragmentation, as the periods of wakefulness in between sleep are a lot longer. Now, the last study involved an objective measure. 30 participants had a night of sleep recorded via polysomnography or PSG, which had EEG, EOG, and EMG channels to respectively record electrical activity in the brain, eye movement, and muscle tension during sleep. You can get an idea of how they would have been connected to the machine in this diagram below. They then completed the lucidity and consciousness in dream scale after waking up in the morning. So in evaluating the PSG results, the researchers focused on what they called a wake REM sequence. So a typical sleep cycle, in a typical sleep cycle, REM sleep usually occurs after about 90 minutes towards the end. But a wake REM sequence is when an individual directly enters REM from an aroused state within 5 minutes. The researchers also noted that the effects of wake REM within the final 4 hours were strongest, but this isn't too surprising because REM sleep periods typically increase as the night progresses. Ultimately, they found a tentative association between sleep fragmentation and dream lucidity in the case of wake REM sequences. However, their overall conclusion was that disrupted sleep did not have a substantial effect on dream lucidity, in spite of testing 4 diverse sub-studies. As such, it's clear that the relationship requires a more nuanced investigation before a causal relationship can be drawn. But what does all this mean for consciousness research? Well, have you ever had a dream, woken up, and realized that the dream wasn't reality? You experienced the emotions in the dream, and you perceived everything that was happening. But while you were having the dream, you weren't able to recognize that you were dreaming. This is generally what's meant by a normal dream experience. That is, you aren't conscious in the same way that you are when you're awake. But what about lucid dreams? When you have that level of awareness, are you conscious? Well, lucid dreaming is considered a hybrid state between waking consciousness and sleep, and it's one of many among sleep paralysis and false awakenings, for example. Consequently, studying lucid dreaming may allow for new insights into the study of consciousness. Now, more broadly speaking, research into lucid dreaming may also support research of conditions such as narcolepsy, in which patients often report fragmented sleep and lucid dreaming. Additionally, there have been emerging concerns that lucid dreaming may be detrimental for sleep quality and function. Now, while some studies have found no correlation between the two factors once nightmares were controlled for, given that just about anybody can have a lucid dream, further research in this area has the potential to benefit the general population. Thank you for listening.